You're trying to figure out what is causing all these weird long COVID, chronic fatigue, POTS symptoms. Maybe you're suffering from brain fog, suffering from extreme fatigue where you're stuck in the couch, you're bedridden or you're home ridden. You were probably someone who was very athletic in the past. Maybe you were a rock climber, maybe you were a runner, a marathon runner. You went to the gym, you were in shape, and now you have no energy. Now you have these weird headaches that come and go. Maybe you have these temperature dysregulation problems. 1 minute you're hot for no reason, and the other minute you're cold. Feel these weird tingling sensations throughout the extremities of your body. Maybe you feel weird heart palpitations. You have all these weird symptoms that nobody can explain. I'm assuming you've gone to your primary care and you've gone to all your doctors, your cardiologists, pulmonologists, neurologists, you've gone to all these specialists to try to figure out what is going on with me. Maybe you had COVID, maybe you had some sort of viral infection and it kind of triggered something, and you're trying to figure out, why do I have all these symptoms? Now, I'm here to kind of give you my personal experience. This is only for educational purposes. I am not a medical doctor, and I'm not here to give medical advice. And please don't sue me. I want to talk a little bit about how I was able to heal myself from long COVID. I actually got COVID January of 2021. I was hospitalized. I went to the ICU, had trouble breathing. I was on a non-rebreather, on a mask, and it wasn't looking good. I was able to recover and get out the hospital, and I noticed that my symptoms never left. I had the brain fog, really annoying because I couldn't think clearly. I kept forgetting things. I had these weird headaches, severe PTSD. I had insomnia. I'd have these horrible nightmares. I also had these Parkinson type of symptoms where my hands would always shake. I also had really bad fatigue to the point where I couldn't go back to work. I just was not functional. It really affected my quality of life completely. This was a 180 compared to the person I was. I was a strong person who used to work 12.5-hour shifts, was working 3 days a week. I just couldn't do it. After having long COVID, I became non-functional. What I want to talk about is theory that kind of changed my life. This theory was what started my recovery journey to healing. And it took a total of 3 months for me to pretty much be symptom free. And so I want to share with you, what is it that helped me start that journey? And the number one thing, the most important part in the start of that journey was understanding what was causing my symptoms. I want to understand what is going on with me. Why do I have these weird symptoms? Why, when I lay down, my heart rate is 55, and when I stand up, it's 140? Why is it that when I stand up, I get lightheaded, I get nausea, I get these weird palpitations? Why is it that when I would go to sleep and lay down, I would pee 5 times a night? I had these weird hot flashes and my temperature regulation wouldn't work. What changed my life was hearing this one theory called the Polyvagal Theory. It's by a doctor, Stephen Porges. Understanding this literally saved my life. It gave me my life back. It is extremely crucial for you to understand this theory so that you can believe in it and so that you can take the appropriate actions and steps and interventions so you can better yourself and hopefully heal yourself like I did. The autonomic nervous system is this group of nerves that runs through your whole body, and it controls all these bodily functions that you don't have to think about, like your heart rate. You don't have to think, I need to beat 60 times in a minute, right? It just happens. Autonomic nervous system does all these functions for you. But how? And so the nervous system is this connection of phone lines you can imagine, and it sends a signal to your endocrine organs and release hormone. And this is very important to understand this because it will explain the weird symptoms that you have. We have the amygdala and the insula. And when they sense danger, it's an alarm bell. It says, alarm, alarm, alarm. And it sends a signal to the hypothalamus. Then the hypothalamus receives that message and says, hey, we're in danger. Let's activate the nervous system. And this is beautiful because you don't have to think when you're in danger and maybe something pops out of the darkness, right? You don't have to say, oh, whoa, something's coming out very quickly. Let me figure this out. I need to calculate this. Am I really in danger? No, your nervous system is beautifully designed. You don't even have to think. It's a shortcut. It says, you're in danger. You don't need to think. Let's run. And that's important to note because what it's really doing, your nervous system is really stimulating the release of certain hormones. And those hormones, it's what affects these functions of your body that you don't have to think to control. Like we said, blood pressure, heart rate, respiration rate, temperature regulation. Those are your physical symptoms, but it also regulates emotional symptoms. For example, maybe if you're suffering from chronic fatigue or brain fog, you may feel depressed. You may feel hopeless. You may feel shame. Endocrine organs are releasing certain hormones that make you feel that way. We have serotonin, dopamine. We all know about that. Those are the hormones that make you feel good, make you feel happy. It can affect the hormones that make you feel good, the hormones that make you feel happy and joyous. And that's why sometimes if you're suffering from fatigue or you're suffering from brain fog, you can feel hopeless. You can feel depressed. You can feel anxious. That's not because you have a bad mindset or because you have the incorrect thoughts. This is literally a hormonal issue that you're going through. Remember what we said about the nervous system. The nervous system stimulates hormones to prepare you, right? For either fight or flight or to get you in action. This is literally brain chemistry that's messing with you. You're not going crazy. Now we're going to look into the polyvagal theory. So I know this can be confusing, so bear with me. Polyvagal theory states that we have a sympathetic nervous system, and that sympathetic nervous system is the fight or flight. You're scared, you are mobilized. You are ready to move, to run. Heart rate increases, respiration rate increases. But you also have the parasympathetic nervous system. But within the parasympathetic, we have two layers. We have the rest and digest, in a sense. Polyvagal theory states is the social engagement. And that's like the feel good, I feel safe part of the polyvagal theory. That's part of the part of our nervous system that's activated when we feel good, when we feel happy, when we're around people we love and we're smiling and we're open and we're having discussions and we feel safe. But within that parasympathetic, we also have something called freeze. Freeze is also known as the dorsal vagal. And I know these words can be a little confusing, so I'm going to put a graph on the side, either side of me, so you can maybe understand it and visualize it a little better. We have the dorsal vagal, which is the freeze. We have the sympathetic, which is the fight or flight. And we have the ventral vagal, which is considered the social engagement, the happy, the good. For simplification purposes, we're just going to call it the social engagement, the fight or flight, or the freeze. So the fight or flight is also known as the mobilized, where you want to move your body and your nervous system gets you ready to move. And we have the freeze, which is considered the immobilized. And the symptoms kind of go with this, and it kind of simplifies things a little bit. I like to see the polyvagal theory visually like a ladder. So imagine that there is a ladder and you are a person on the ladder. And on the bottom of the ladder is this freeze. It's this red zone. With each layer of this polyvagal construct, there's different symptoms you get. So when you are under the freeze, you suffer from physical symptoms and from emotional symptoms. Some physical symptoms may be fatigue, maybe brain fog, or things that will slow you down. Emotionally, maybe you feel depressed, hopeless, maybe you feel shame. Those are the emotional symptoms you may feel. Now, if we move up that construct, we see the fight or flight. Now, the fight or flight, you may feel different physical symptoms. Maybe your heart rate's really high. Maybe you're having some heart palpitations. Maybe you notice some shallow, quick breathing. You may have some emotional symptoms. Maybe you have rage. Maybe you have anger. That's part of the fight or flight. And again, there's physical symptoms and emotional symptoms. And now if you move up that ladder, you're going to have the social engagement. So the social engagement, you may feel calm. You may feel joyful. You may smile. Easier for you to physically move. You just feel loose. This polyvagal theory actually comes from analyzing or observing reptiles. If you scare a lizard, it will start running, it'll start panicking, but if you catch the lizard or its corner, it will play dead. So that is the part that is similar to us. We as well have this shutdown, and that is the freeze response. And that explains why we suffer from chronic fatigue, why we suffer from this brain fog, and why also we have these emotional symptoms where we suffer from depression. And maybe we're not people that have ever suffered from depression. Maybe we suffer from feeling hopeless, like giving up, but maybe we're not the type of people that feel that way. We're maybe type A personality, perfectionist. We get stuff done. But for some reason, our emotions are the opposite. It's what's going on here. Well, polyvagal states it is there to shut you down. Your nervous system believes it is in danger. So much so, like that lizard that believes it was caught and it plays dead. Your nervous system says, okay, it's time to die. Play dead. And that's what is going on. And I want you to imagine a ladder. And so you're on the ladder. The bottom of that layer is freeze. The middle is fight or flight, and the top is social engagement. Maybe there's a lot of stress in your life. Maybe you have deadlines at work. Maybe you're at school and you have to pass that exam that would affect your life. Maybe you have a spouse that stresses you out. Maybe you have kids that stress you out. Maybe you stress yourself out. Maybe you're a perfectionist and you put so much pressure on yourself to never fail. Maybe you have that type A personality. Maybe you're a people pleaser where you put so much pressure to make sure that you make everyone happy and you don't want to make anybody unhappy. Maybe you are that person. So I want you to imagine this ladder, and it's on this structure of these 3 layers. And on top of that structure are these little minions. And these minions are taking rocks and throwing rocks on you. You're trying to go to social engagement and you're trying to climb. So you're in fight or flight and you're doing certain things or exercises to calm yourself down, to relax yourself, to feel safe and joyful. But the stresses of life, these minions start throwing these rocks on you. And what ends up happening is that you slide down the ladder. And when you have too much stress where you cannot cope anymore, these rocks are hitting you and they're just too big. You slide down the ladder to freeze. And that's where you get this chronic fatigue, brain fog, and all these different symptoms, depression, hopelessness. You can't even move. You have post-exertional malaise. And so maybe you try to do these exercises, these polyvagal exercises to calm yourself down. And you slowly move up the ladder and you come up and you're in fight or flight. So maybe you were very depressed, but now you're super anxious and you don't understand why. Why am I so anxious? I thought I was getting better. I'm doing the meditation, the yoga, the laughing yoga, the breathing. I'm doing all these things. Why am I feeling anxious now? And it can be confusing. Well, what's really happening is that you're actually getting better because you're going from immobilized or from freeze to fight or flight to mobilized. That is an improvement. You just need to keep going. If you keep going, you're going to end up in social engagement, in that green where you feel safe, you feel joy, you can smile, you feel happy. The polyvagal theory really made so much sense to me. I personally remember that anytime I would go in, I had a lot of social anxiety, especially because when you have long COVID or any of these dysautonomias, you don't want to be outside. You don't want to be around people because you just are not the same person anymore. I was personally very depressed, lost a lot of my dignity as being the head of my house and financially being the one responsible, and I couldn't work anymore. Also it kind of hurt me. I lost my identity. I was this guy who used to run and work out and go to the gym and be able to do these tough 12.5-hour shifts, and I was proud of myself for that. And all of a sudden I couldn't. I couldn't do much. I remember like I would go running. If I had a good day and I felt good, I would run hard. And I would tell my wife, I know tomorrow's going to be a crap day, so today I'm going to enjoy it. And I would go all out. I would go run. I'd go shopping because shopping would really drain me. Every time I would overdo it, the next day, my body would just shut down completely. I would wake up. I would feel extremely dizzy, nauseous. I just felt so sick. It was hard to stand because I was suffering from POTS-like symptoms. It was hard to just function, even talking to my wife. I always remember just forgetting things. Talking to my friends, I would forget things. So like I didn't even want to be around my friends anymore because, like I was so embarrassed that I couldn't even hold a conversation with them. It's so hard because there's no real proof of you being sick. It's not like you lost an arm or a leg and people are like, wow, it's invisible. It's an invisible disease. And, it's not like you can take a test at the doctor's office, like a blood work. Oh yeah, you have long COVID. That's not how it works. So this polyvagal theory really explained to me and it helped me understand why I was suffering all these weird symptoms. Once I understood it, it made so much sense. Once it made sense to me, I trusted it, I believed it. And that's when I started to do these polyvagal exercises. To not make it fancy, they're just exercises that help you relax, help your mind relax, and your nervous system relax. Yoga, physical yoga, maybe stretching on the floor. I did laughing yoga by Bianca Spears as someone I always recommend. Everybody who messages me on Instagram or YouTube, I recommend Bianca Spears. I love her videos. She is awesome. It sounds silly, but it works. It makes your nervous system feel good. I also did meditation. Meditation for me didn't work very well. My mind would race too much and it was just really hard to relax. So for me, breathing exercises was it. I would take deeper breaths. I would try to elongate my breathing. And again, these are exercises I will explain in another video. That was the beginning of me understanding and the beginning of me getting better because I knew that, Rob, you have too much stress in your life, including the stress that you put on yourself. So I knew I had to remove these stressors. I had to remove internal expectations from myself. I was putting so much expectations on myself. When am I going back to work? I need to go make money. I need to go do this. I need to go do that. I can't wait. I got to go run. And so I had to let go of all these expectations on myself because that expectations is a minion on top of the ladder. That minion keeps throwing rocks and it keeps dropping you lower and lower down that ladder. So you want to just get rid of that minion. Get rid of your expectations. Put no expectation of yourself. Be happy just being alive. And that made me realize I can relax because I don't need to be a certain person. I don't need to do a certain thing to be loved or to feel belonging. I don't need to earn my joyfulness. I can just be joyful. I can just be here in the moment and feel good. I can smile and enjoy it. And that helped me to heal. Talking about those minions on top, sometimes you have work. Maybe that minion of work is throwing too much rocks on top of you. Maybe your job is extremely stressful. For me, I had to hit rock bottom. I couldn't go back to work. I lost a good six-figure job with amazing health benefits, pension. To be honest, before I lost this job, I was like, how am I going to lose this? I tried to go back to working those 12.5-hour shifts and it was unbearable. I remember crying mid-shift. I would go up to my boss and I would tell her I'm struggling and she would see it in me. I prided myself in my work ethic and she saw I just wasn't the same person. Maybe that's something you may have to work on. Maybe you need to change your job. Maybe you can talk to your boss and maybe reducing the workload. Those minions are throwing big rocks, big stressors. Becomes really hard to recover. There's no way to escape this. You can do a lot of the exercises, but if the stress is too much and they're really big rocks, you need to remove those big rocks for you to be able to heal up, to eventually be able to tackle those rocks and cope with stress. So I get a lot of questions asking, hey, can you deal with stress again? Or can you never deal with stress again? I'll be honest. So after maybe 5 months of being fully healed and, of feeling good, I had a baby. The first month was rough for me and my wife. And I was nervous because the lack of sleep and, the baby cries every 3 hours and has needs and your self-care goes out the window. It took a month of me not sleeping and being up and down and really going through a lot of stress for me to start getting certain symptoms back. But I knew what to do to regress that. I know to do my breathing exercises. I know to do my laughing yoga. And it doesn't really require much. It probably requires 5 to 10 minutes a day. And I'm still functional. I may feel certain symptoms. I'll feel like this fatigue or, I just feel more tired than usual. And I'm like, well, something's up here. I didn't go running. I didn't do anything that should be tiresome, maybe lack of sleep, but not much. So I'll do those exercises again and I'm functional, fully functional. And I know how to get out of that. And it's very quick. It takes 10 to 30 minutes and I'm back to normal. Another stressor you may have is family members, friends. So that's another minion on top of your ladder. Maybe a spouse is very extremely stressful. Maybe your parents are extremely stressful. Maybe it's your boyfriend, your girlfriend. We have certain family obligations we can't just leave. But you can create coping strategies, things to kind of help you so that the rocks that they throw you and the stress they give you don't feel so big. And if you can reduce interactions with maybe certain family members, maybe reduce it for a time period. Doesn't have to be forever. You're not trying to say goodbye to anybody, but maybe right now maybe these people are very negative. Maybe there's people telling you, you know what, you're just lazy. Maybe you know what, you know why you're sick? Because you got to work harder. I've gotten those comments and I remember crying about it. I felt horrible because I didn't understand what I was going through. And I was like, is this all in my head? No doctor gave me an explanation. So I said, this has got to be in my head. But then it wasn't. I would tell myself, this is not in my head. And so I'm here to tell you that it's not in your head. And that, this beautiful machine, a body that we have, it can heal itself. It's here. Its function is to protect you. And when it's chronically stressed, this is what ends up happening. We end up getting this dysregulation of the autonomic nervous system, which what we call dysautonomia. And so there's no reason to be scared. There's hope. Please go watch other interviews on YouTube of other YouTubers, of people that have recovered fully and how they've gotten their life back and have gotten a better life back. And you can be that person too. I know you're confused. I know there's so much. I know you're tired of this. I know you're exhausted. Please don't give up. Continue seeking information. If you have any comments down in the comment section, if you want other different videos of what you want, I'm going to make these videos my best and do my best to try to help everybody out there. I've gotten a lot of messages on Instagram and my Instagram will be in the description. Please reach out. I also have a Reddit post. I will usually send you that Reddit post if you DM me. Instagram, because that Reddit post is very in-depth. So, but don't be shy to ask me any questions that you have that may help you. I hope I did an okay job at explaining this. This is something that has helped me. This is the beginning of what helped me on my long COVID journey. I was sick for a year and 8 months. It was horrible. I wasn't functional. I thought I was never going to get my life back. And I remember watching people's interviews of people that fully healed, and I thought they were liars. I thought they were getting paid by somebody. And I promised myself, though, I said, if one day I do recover, I'm going to go back and I'm going to help as many people as I can. It's a little hard. I am a nurse. I have a day job. So it's hard. Sometimes I try to respond to the messages on Instagram. Please don't be shy. Please respond. Comment on YouTube. Comment on my Instagram post. Tell me what you guys want to see, things that can be helpful. Please don't give up. Don't give up. Don't stop. I know this is hard. I know this is horrible. I know this is depressing. I know you want to cry. I know you're probably crying, and you don't deserve this. You know what you're going through? You don't deserve this. Only you can fight for you. Nobody else will fight for you. I can't fight for you. As much as I wish I could, you have to fight for you. So don't give up. I'm going to make more videos, and hopefully that will help. Use other resources online that will give you hope. It's extremely important to continue to have hope. I'll put some links in the description below that hopefully will help with other people's channels. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope it helped, it brought value to you, and I hope this is the beginning of your beautiful journey to recovery. And I'll see you guys on the other side.